there, it's Lisa. I have 4x6 photos that go back a long time. I probably scrapped these. I know I did this picture and I didn't pull out the old album from over 20 years ago, but maybe some of the other pictures. But given the fact that I found these, the originals, I suspect I didn't really do a whole lot with them back years ago. It was my very first scrapbook album. As I say, I know I covered this one, but I'm not sure I covered this whole event, at least not in pictures. Back then I had a tendency to do one photo and do a lot of journaling. And I thought it would be fun to get the pictures in an album and also to tell the story kind of looking back on it over a long period of time. And if you're interested in the story, it's on my blog. It has to do with my stepdaughter's first visit out here during the summer after I started seeing their dad. So it's an interesting dynamic in blending families, and so if you're interested in that, it's over on my blog. The two main photos are going to go here, and then I'm going to take these photos and crop them down, because these can easily be cropped and used as more supporting photos for the layout. I have some floral embellishments and some heart that I want to use, and probably use these Maya Road hearts. For flowers, I can cut out some flowers from the pattern papers that I'm going to be using. There's a new product for me that I have had laying around here for a long time and haven't done much with. This is the sticky back canvas from Claudine Helmuth. I did try it out one day to see if I could cut it on the Cricut, and I can. And I was really pleased with that. You have to cut pretty simple shapes. When I got into these leaves, kind of the edges of the stems of the leaves didn't quite work as well. But if I keep the shape simple, I think I can cut some flowers with that and do some inking and stamping and stuff on those. The papers for the project are going to be Fern and Forest from Little Yellow Bicycle. I have a few 12x12s left, and then I have a lot of the 6x6 that I could also cut up in the flowers. So let's decide on a background paper for the layout. Since these are going to be my two main photos, let's get those out here and decide which ones they look good on. I really like them on this green polka dot because it goes with my outfit and just that whole green background. I chose the papers because it was a summer evening, and these light colors kind of go with our age. We were all young, or relatively young, back then. That one's going to be too busy. Let's try that. I like this too. I like this green a lot. And this is the one that has all these big words on the back that I know I won't use. So this would be a great page to go ahead and use for the background. The stripe is too busy. Let's see what's on the back of the stripe. Oh, there's another pretty green. But I don't think I want to use all my stripes. So it's either going to be this one or this one. And I need something to mat my photos, and then I'm going to need to cut some strips. And of course I love to use stripes as the strips. For cutting the stripe, I can cut it this way and have a little bit of all the stripe, or I can cut it this way and use some of the different individual elements of the stripe. That would be pretty as well. So I actually think I really loved this paper, and I wanted to work this in. It has a pretty back to it too, but I think this is a little bit more old-fashioned. I liked this front as well. So I could put this at the bottom, but then I've got those flowers. It's going to get kind of busy down there at the bottom with the flowers on top of it. You know what I think I may do first before I make all my choices is I may do this one as a top down. So I may go ahead and do my embellishments first and then see what papers the embellishments look good lying on. So I'm going to cut up some of the sticky back canvas into some shapes and put some color to those, and then we'll see what they look good on. You can cut the sticky back canvas on the Cricut. I'm using a very sticky mat and a blade that's probably maybe halfway through its life. You're cutting fabric with the blade, so if it's cut a lot of paper, it's going to be dull and a little bit harder to cut. And the first few I pulled off came off way easier than the ones I'm showing here on camera. So I probably wouldn't put the whole sheet on there if I were doing it again, just so it wouldn't all stick down. But anyway, they did cut with the Cricut in this simple shape, and of course you can cut them by hand. I'm going to paint the back of them. The nice thing about canvas is I can add paint. I can put quite a bit of water into it if I need to. I'm matching the colors on this stripe paper doing some blue backgrounds and maybe some pink and some purple. And I'm off camera there, I'm just dipping my brush into water and adding quite a bit of water, which is easy to do with the canvas because it can handle the water, certainly better than paper can. And that will dry up really nice. It curls a little bit as it's drying, but it lays right back out. That one, I almost did the wrong side of it. I'm going to do the canvas side, not the backing side. And you'll see right now that you don't see any white edge on it, and in a few minutes you're going to see some white edge, and I'll show you or explain why. This paint is a step up from craft paint. It's not a real fancy paint, but you could use craft paint, would be fine. This is just my bottom layer. I'm going to add some additional layers to this. Can also add mists, which you'll see me do in here in just a few moments. Just checking my colors. And now you see that white edge. What happened is the canvas shrinks, and then a little bit of that white edge shows. Now I have a stencil here. That white edge will be peeled off. With the stencil, I want to take some paint and some mists and go over the stencil. I'm using the Distress paint with the dauber. I'm not really fond of using the Distress paint over a stencil like this because I don't think you can get down in it as well as you can with a paintbrush or with another foam application tool, but it's handy. It's really fast. And I like to take what's left over and just press something on top of that. So I'm going to take one of the flowers and press over it and get the design transferred. And some of these I'll leave in their full size, and some of them I'm going to cut out. I am going to try some mists here. Again, centering a flower over the cutout flower, trying some of the mist. That's Funky Fuchsia from Dilutions. Really beautiful color. I love this one. That's one I'm going to end up trimming out because I didn't quite get it centered. And then I'm doing some aqua on blue and with some Heidi Swap mist. It's the Heidi Swap mint green on my blue paint. And doing the same thing, I'm trying folding the flower over so I can maybe get it centered a little bit better. And that one came out real pretty. It ended up with a couple of the colors on the same flower. I felt like they needed an extra layer though, beyond just the flower stencil. So I'm just doing a little bit of stenciling with an alphabet stencil just to add a little more interest to them and make them look a little bit, exactly say distressed, but a little more casual and artsy kind of things. This is plain old white craft paint, and a very stiff bristle brush works really well with your stencils. Some of these cheapy brushes, I don't know if you have them, but I sure have them from the craft stores, and they're great for this kind of thing. Okay. That one's one that's going to need to be trimmed out, and this one as well I found looked better when they were trimmed. And the backing will peel right off of that when I'm ready to apply them to the layout. I have these things, they're not exactly buttons, but I guess they're made of resin. I'm not sure what they're, or plastic or whatever. They look like buttons. They're from Stampin' Up! And I've had them in my stash for quite a while, and the colors match really well with this layout. So now that I have the top layer, I'm looking at the background and the other layers of the page, and just trying a few of the different papers. I'm even trying this really busy one to see how it's going to look. And I pretty quickly figure out that it's too busy, just like I thought. But I gave it a fair shot. So I'm going back to one of the more solid colored papers, the aqua dots and the stripe paper. I also have some of the 6x6 paper that I could work in. Pulling a few different things out of my stash just to see what looks good. And in the end, I stick with the dot paper and some of that stripe down at the bottom. One of the papers I had from this collection is this wood grain, and I thought that would look good because of the amount of brown that's in there. But on the back side of the wood grain paper, the way I'd cut it up when I'd used it before was to save some of these borders, and one of the borders is really perfect for this layout. It's just sort of a happy accident. It looks almost like stems for the flowers, and you'll see it close up here in just a moment. And I'm going to move it up just a little bit to leave a little of the background showing, and that creates almost like a little dainty border down on the bottom. Now at the top underneath the title, I need something up there, and I've considered using a couple of the pattern papers as possibilities. The stripe is definitely too busy. Another thing I'm looking at is to use washi tape, which we'll get to in a moment. I went ahead and got my lettering out, and to assemble some things, I need to create my pocket. I'm using this photo tape from Creative Memories. I don't know if they still sell this since they redid their business, but if they don't, there's red sticky tape. You can use that as well. You just want something that holds really well if you're creating a pocket. This will make a pretty tight pocket, so it can kind of have one piece of paper going down in there, and that's really all I need for my journaling. I have quite a bit of journaling, and I just want to hide it behind the photos. So I'm just putting that on 3 sides, and then I'm going to use my ruler to get it lined up really good, because once it's down, it's down. It's the kind of tape that doesn't move around. Make sure I get it in the center, and then press that down good. And then I have my pocket. I'm going to use one of these flowers as a pull tab to pull the journaling out. Trying some of these different washi tapes. I had this one really wide washi tape and an aqua that I thought might make a nice background. It turned out to be way too light. I have another aqua that can create a tone-on-tone background. It's not very wide, but it will still give me something to sort of let that title rest on up there at the top. And I tried a colorful washi tape, and it was too busy. So I'm back to the title, just laying on the plain sort of tone-on-tone washi tape. Getting my flowers figured out as to what's going where and where the letters are going to go. I'm trying this one really big flower. I didn't think that was one I would end up using. It was the first one I'd ever cut, and I just went ahead and painted it to see how it would go. Now these 6x6 papers are going to be great for the very top of my journaling, where I have a little pull tab. So I've got a white piece of paper that I'm going to write my journaling on, and I've just picked out one of the 6x6 papers and trim that down a little bit to make the tab at the top. I'm using my scoreboard to score it at 3/8 of an inch over from the edge, since that's about how much of a tab that I want. I will glue the piece of white paper to the larger side of this and not glue the top down, because the top is going to lay over the pocket, as you'll see in a moment. So I'm just going to put some glue on the large portion of this tab. And some of this I didn't end up with on video, but I end up trimming out a little bit of this on the edge, so I have just a little bit of a tab that'll go across the top. I use glossy accents to hold my embellishments on there, and then when I stick this in the pocket, that will lay over the top. But it flips up a little bit too much, so I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and sew across the very edge just to help it hold down. And we'll see that more at the end. The flowers are about ready to go on. Some of them are going to go on with pop dots, and some of them I'm going to put on, the ones that are going on with pop dots, I'm going to go ahead and adhere those to some of that 6x6 paper and then trim out just to have a little bit of an edge around them and something for my pop dots to attach to. I cut out a couple of the flowers there. The pop dots I use are dimensional adhesive from Stampin' Up. I like how just the thickness of it. I have these Maya Road hearts that I'm also using, and I talk more about the hearts and flowers theme when over on my blog. Just trying to decide whether I want the heart in the middle of the flower or as a separate embellishment, and where I want it to go. Okay, here's my completed page. The stitching up here did the trick. This lays down nicely, and it can still be pulled out to write on. But I thought since I have this stitching, I needed a little more, so I went around the edge and did a little bit of edge work. So this is my page, and we're going back to the sketch. We've got a 4 photo with the journaling tucked in, and this band down here at the bottom. I'll show you some close-ups of the page and the flowers. An idea of how those looked. So thanks for watching today, and be sure and check out my blog for more information.